Hey, welcome back. Aaron, BNB Tech Talks. I want to talk about Visio diagramming. I want to share with you some things that'll hopefully get you started in the direction you want to go quicker and without having to try to figure out how to do basic things. So, subscribe if you would like to get updates about new Visio videos that I will post in the future. And let's get going. There are a lot of different versions of Visio. I've been using Visio since before it was a Microsoft product. Some may not even be aware that there was a time when Visio was not part of the Microsoft, a set of software applications that they offer. Back in 1992, I think it was invented. I started working with it back in like 1996, 1997. And then I think in the 2000s, sometime there, Microsoft acquired Visio and rolled it into their suite of software applications that they offer. There's a lot of different versions of Visio over the years. This is an older version. We're in the year 2021 right now, and I'm still using 2010, and it's still quite capable. So when you open it, it kind of looks like this. If you go to Help, you can see what version you have. Okay, that's what version you have. All right, go back to Home. If you just want to open up a basic diagram, double click Basic Flowcharts, US Units. That's the one I usually use. So we'll double click that. So you have a file here that is probably 8.5 by 11. Go to Design, Size, and there you see it highlighted 8.5 by 11. So that's the default size as you open it. I'm going to show you something right away regarding, I'm just going to throw in a lot of different tips that can sometimes be frustrating to the beginner Visio user. If you want to draw a box, you click this little box right here. If you want to draw a circle or an ellipse, click that one. And look, it changes to a circle. If you want to draw a straight line, then the one that's selected is a straight line. If you want to draw a freeform line, an arc, whatever, or a freeform pencil. Okay, so let's just say we wanted to draw a box. If you draw a box like that, you just click left mouse key. Now look, if you want to undo that, hit Control Z on your keyboard. All right. So what I meant was you hold the Control key down. Where am I? Here we are. You hold the Control key down and then you hit Z simultaneously. Okay, start with the Control key and you hit Z. That's an undo. Okay. So let's get back over to the diagram. So again, if you drew a box and you're like, oh shoot, I don't like that, Control Z and it goes away. If you draw 2 boxes, 3 boxes, 4 boxes, if you don't like the last 2 that you drew, Control Z, Control Z. It gets rid of the last 2. If you keep hitting Control Z, it will keep undoing what you've drawn. Okay, so that's pretty helpful. About the box, say for instance you draw the box bigger than the 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Watch what it does. It starts another sheet. You may or may not like that. So I'll tell you a case where you may not like it. Say for instance you're drawing some diagrams and you want to put a box over here. Why would you want to put a box over there? Well, you may want to put some items over here on the side that are not printable. They're not part of the diagram, but you keep them over there as a cache of items that are readily available. Say, for instance, they're shapes and things that you've used in the past, and you want to continue to use them. Now, you might put those in a stencil, and we can talk about stencils later, but you could just lay stuff over there and use them later. But if it expands the diagram, it's going to be part of the printable diagram. So let's get back to this. If you don't want the diagram to expand automatically, go to Design, uncheck Auto Size. Okay, it's not checked anymore, is it? If you click it, it's orange. That means it's checked. So it is checked by default. Float over it with the mouse. It says automatically resize the page as you draw. So that's what was going on. So if I uncheck it, it's no longer orange anymore, so it's not selected. So now, if I move a box over here, the diagram no longer expands itself. So it stays at 8.5 by 11 size. All right? Now, if you want to replicate this image that you drew, hold the control key down, click with the left mouse key, and drag. See that? It copied that exact same image, same size and everything. Okay? If you like both of these, click with the left mouse key, drag across, let go of the left mouse key. It has now highlighted both of those. Click Control on the keyboard, hold Control down, click the left mouse key, drag them up, and so there you go. So you have multiple objects. If you don't want those, click with the left mouse key, highlight all of them, and hit the delete key on your keyboard. Control Z will undo it. You can right mouse click, and it brings up a menu here. And you can, I thought the delete would be on there. Yeah, just hit the delete key on your keyboard. It gets rid of them. All right, so here's some basic things with shapes. If you want to resize the shape, when you move your mouse cursor around, it changes the line. Or excuse me, it changes, it will allow you to resize the shape. If you want to do it symmetrically or within a proportion, proportionally, I guess, you want to keep the same kind of look and feel of the shape. You just want to grab a corner and size it like this. All right? Now, look at that. You've lost your corner. It's because you're too far away. Hit the Control Shift on your keyboard. I'm going to show you something. To drill in to a Visio diagram is very helpful to get into the details of the item. So Control Shift, hold both of those down, Control and Shift, and while holding Control and Shift down, watch what happens. Hold Control Shift, it changes. Oh, I'm sorry, you're still looking at me. Hold Control and Shift down, and it changes to a plus sign. If you left mouse click, it drills into the item. Continue to left mouse click, it drills into the item. There's a large zoom. If you right mouse click, it comes out of the item. Look how far away you can get from it. You can get pretty darn far away. So again, holding the Control Shift down on the keyboard, left mouse click drills into the item. So earlier we were modifying this and we lost our corners when we were sizing it, and now we can't size it proportionally again. Well, you can if you hit Control Shift and you drill into it. Now you're closer to the item, and now you can get your corner sizers back again. Now, if you want to just make it skinnier, you do that. If you want to make it shorter, you do that. Okay, so these are some basic shape manipulations that we're going through. Go back to Home up here. If you want to connect these two shapes with a line, go back to your drawing tool. You got your box, you got your circle, your line, your freeform, your arc. If you want to just draw a straight line, click line, and then you can, again, Control Shift drills you in. You can draw the line just like this if you want. Snap to geometry is very nice. It makes the line straight for you. Unless you are very specific about where you want it to go, it'll try to make it straight for you. All right. Now, say for instance you don't like where that line was. Well, and you click here, and you go and you click on it, and you're trying to move it, and it draws another line. This can be quite frustrating. First of all, oh no, I drew another line. I wasn't trying to draw another line. Control Z will get rid of that. So again, if you wanted to remove this line, you need to go up here to the pointer tool. Click the pointer tool. Now it changes your cursor, and now you can move the line. Say for instance you didn't want it there, but you actually wanted it there. Well, there you go. That's how you do it. Okay. Now, another thing about connecting lines, if you move this object, the line does not go with it. If you want the line to go with it, you need to use a connector. So the connector is right here. All right. So if we pick, okay, if you click on connector, now it's drawing a line that's actually a connector. And so when you draw this line, it's kind of goofy. It's not a straight line. It does it in different shape, or it does it at different angles. So let's just draw this connector line. Now, if you put it here straight up, right to the edge of the box, it draws it as an arrow. Let's go back to the pointer tool. Let's move our box. The line still does not go with it. Control Z will move your box back. Let's go back to that connector. Oops, I put a stray item. How do you get rid of a stray item? Control Z, it goes away. So let's go back to that connector line. Let's move it again. As you get it closer to an object, whenever there's an auto connect point, the object will highlight in red. Okay? Once it's highlighted in red, you know you have successfully connected it. And look, if you pause, it says glue to shape. So when you let go now, it's actually glued to the shape. So go back to the pointer tool. And I keep telling you to go back to the pointer tool because look what's selected, connector. If I try to drag this square somewhere, I'm going to frustrate myself and I'm going to draw another connector line. Oh no, I drew a stray line. How do I get rid of it? Control Z. Go to the pointer tool. If you want to move this object, you need to be on the pointer tool. Now move the object. Look how nice. Now the connector goes with it. Now, you may or may not like the angled line. You might want it to be straight. If that's the case, right-click on the connector line and look at these options. You have a right angle connector, a straight connector, or a curved connector. If you want it to be a straight connector, select that. Now look at this. Whatever the starting point was, it forms a straight line. So now, everywhere you move this box from its point of origin, it goes with it. Now, you might think, well, I wanted this to be like a network connection between two switches. Let's just say this box is going to be an Ethernet switch or something. And you're just going to have to bear with me if you're watching these videos and you're wondering, what's this Ethernet switch business? I'm a network engineer. I do a lot of Visio diagrams from a network documentation perspective. You're going to hear a lot of references from myself about routers and switches and firewalls and things like that. You can use Visio for a ton of different things. As a business person, you can use them for flowcharts, for communicating thoughts and ideas and things like that. I use them to document IP networks for the internet and for how computers and routers and switches and things connect buildings and things like that together. So let's get back to this. If you wanted to connect this switch to another one, you know what, let's get rid of these for starters. Just highlight it, hit delete, highlight it, hit delete. We want another one. We want it a little bit smaller, by the way. So again, you know how to do that. You just grab a corner. You can grab any of the corners, by the way, it doesn't matter. Now, if you want another one the same size, like I told you before, hold the control key down on the keyboard, left mouse click, and drag. Let up on the mouse click before you let up on the control key. I'm going to repeat that. Highlight the item you want to replicate. Hold the control key down on the keyboard. Left mouse click on the object. Drag the object. If you let the control key up first, look what it does. It does something that you completely did not want to do. It moves it. Oh no, I moved an item somewhere I didn't want it to be. Well, hit Control Z. Control Z puts it back. It undoes the previous change. So again, to replicate an item, highlight it, click on it, hit the control key on the keyboard, left mouse click, drag it, let up on the left mouse click, and now you can let up on the keyboard control key. All right, so let's put this switch over here where we want it. By the way, look at what is so nice about Visio, that it will line objects up. If you're slow and patient enough, you will see that Visio will line these items up. It'll snap it into, I think it's called snap to geometry. And so it doesn't do it everywhere for every possible angle, like, if it was, at a corner angle, but usually, on this, vertically or horizontally, you can snap it into place. So when you put this one over here, when you know that orange line means that this is exactly level with the other one. Forget about this, excuse me. Well, look, something crazy just happened. If something like that happens, what do? Control Z. So anyway, if you want to, so this line doesn't matter. It really has to do with, the snapshot geometry is just about what this object is in relation to this other object. Okay? So we were putting it over here. And if you want to check it, watch this. Just grab this, drag it over here. Look how perfect it goes over top of that. And that's how to check if things are aligned. Hit Control Z, it goes back to where you want it. Okay? Now, we wanted to connect these two together. Grab the connector, move it over, it glues to shape, let it go. Now you have your two boxes connected. We can move it, we can check it, Control Z puts it back where it was. Always remember that. If you want to check if items are connected, just move them around. Move them around. If you move it 3 times and you're like, oh shoot, I want to put it back where it was. Well, you have the snap to geometry, but you also have the Control Z. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. You're back to where you want to be. Now, another thing, if you don't like this arrow, you're not trying to communicate directionality or relation, or some kind of flow. You just want a connector between two boxes. Right click, or click on the line. You could right click on it. Yeah, you can right click on it, or you can just click on it once. Excuse me. Click on it once. Go up to the line box. We haven't talked about this line box yet. There's a lot of data in here. Go to this line box. Go down to arrows. Now look at all your arrow options. Now, at this point, we don't care about arrow options. We just want to get rid of the arrow. Well, select the line with no arrows. Aha, now it's gone. Okay, now you're looking at this and you're thinking, I don't like that this line is so dark. I want it to be about as dark as the lines of the boxes themselves. Go back to line, go to weight. Now, when you float, now here's the weight that it is by default, a 1 point thickness of a line. If you go over to the other one and you pause, you'll see your line change in the background. Go to the next one, go to the next one. See, you can check that, but see how it's getting thicker just as I float? So if you're patient, you can see it changing back there. And folks, again, this is 2010 Visio. We've had 11 years of some Visio improvements, and so this is still highly capable. There's a lot of stuff you can do in here. And by the way, I'll say again, if I didn't say it before, I learned Visio a long time ago. I've been learning incrementally some of the newer enhancements, but I'm still using an older version. A lot of the files are interchangeable. There are some newer versions of Visio diagramming files. .vsd was the old extension of the file. I think there's a newer extension. But there's a lot of compatibility between it, and there's a lot of skill set that you learn in older versions that carries over to the newer versions, okay? So don't be too hung up on the fact that this is 2010. All right, so back to what we were doing. Thickness of the line, we're on weight. Float the mouse over, and so when you get it to the thickness that you want it, that kind of looks like the thickness of what the boxes are. Click on that. To check it, Control-Shift brings up your magnifying glass, Control-Shift on the keyboard, left click on the mouse key, drills you in. Now, look what happens. When you get closer, you actually see that it's not quite the same size after all. Control-Shift on the keyboard, right mouse click, takes you out. See, when you're zoomed out, it actually looks, pretty good. It actually looks like it's about the same size. It's because you're not looking at the details. I'll also say, if you click View here, or actually where there's actually a percentage of how far you're drilled into the diagram, and I'm not actually seeing it right now. It's a zoom. I think we need to add that feature maybe on the ribbon. There's a way of adding things up here. Not actually seeing it right now, but anyway, this works. When you zoom in, oh, you can zoom in down here on the bottom right corner. You can click this to zoom. The better thing about zooming with your mouse is you actually can zoom into the object that you're most interested in. So it's Control-Shift on the keyboard, left mouse click. So again, when you get closer, you find that your line isn't quite the same size. So if you're really specific about this, highlight the line again, go back to the line drop down, go to weight, and pick the one that is the right size. I think quarter point size is actually the more accurate size. Okay? I also want to show you something real quick here about object manipulation. And whenever the item was, actually, you know what, I'm not going to get into that right now. So Control-Shift on the keyboard, right mouse click brings us back out. And if you want to move around on the diagram, grab this bar down here. This takes you left or right. On the right side, this takes you up or down. Now, if you want to center this diagram up real quick, click View, Fit to Window. That will quickly center it up in the window. If you want to center this on the diagram, this actually isn't very easy. From what I recall, I don't recall a way of centering this perfectly up and down and left or right. Let me tell you a quick trick for how I do this. Draw a quick box. Now, you already have a box drawn on the diagram. Why not use it? You can either draw a box like this, or you can use one of your items. What did I tell you about that? Highlight it, hold the Control key down on the keyboard with the left mouse click, drag it over, let up the left mouse click, then you can let up the Control key on the keyboard. Take this box, put it, now look at the snap to geometry. It snaps it at a right angle. Take this box, make it a little skinnier. It doesn't really need to be thick, and I'll show you why. Drag it over here to the other angle, and it snaps to the other corner. It snaps into the other corner. Now look what you have. You have an automatic midpoint on the diagram. So with that midpoint on the diagram, you can center left or right. Take this box, copy it. Here's something I haven't told you yet. We're going to put one up and down also to center this all up and down as well. Here's something I haven't told you. See this little dot right here? This little dot is a way of moving an object at different, spinning you can literally spin this object around. You don't have to keep clicking on the blue dot. Once you've clicked on it, you can, and hold the left key. I clicked on it with the left mouse key. You have control of this item. It's pretty cool, huh? So anyway, if you wanted it to be up and down, it kind of snaps into place up and down, but let's hit Control Z. Actually, let's delete it. Let's get it again. Now, if you couldn't quite get it perfectly up and down, who cares? Grab the item, copy it, hit Control L on the keyboard. That flips it one direction to the left. If you hit Control and the L key on the keyboard again, it flips it again. Or that's L means left. If you hit Control R, it flips it to the right. Okay? Just keep hitting the R key. Again, I'm hitting Control, the Control key, and the letter L. I'm holding the Control key down right here. And I'm just tapping the letter L, and it's flipping that object. Or R, it flips it to the right. I guess right would be counterclockwise and L would be clockwise. So just another tip to how to do object manipulation. Once you have it like that, look at this. Right size it, snap it into the corner, snap it into the corner there. If you want to make sure, remember, Control Shift, drill into it. You can tell that it's snapped into the corner there. It's perfect. Now what you have is you have a center point. Now, how do you see the center point while you're highlighting this? Well, you can draw a line. Watch this. Draw a line through here. Now you know that the center of this object is right on that line. Now, when you highlight this object, if it was over here, you can now center it up. Now I'm going to show you something. Once you've highlighted this object, it's a left mouse click, drag, and let go. It highlights all the items. If it's hard for you to move this around, don't get carpal tunnel trying to move an object around with your mouse. You'll get, it's going to get frustrating. You can use your arrows on your keyboard. So let's go back over there. Let's say it was right here. Use the right, you hear me tapping my keyboard? Look at that. I tapped it right into place. Okay, so it's centered up. All right, now that's centered left and right. Let's grab this line. Let's flip it, Control L or Control R. Let's find out what the midpoint is here. Okay, we see it's this grid line. You see that grid? You see that grid line right there? That's what this grid is. That's what's nice about having a grid in the background. Drag this line to the grid line. I think that's on there. Let's click it. Yep, we click our object. We see the line is right on there. Now, we want to move this line over this way. I'm going to show you something. If you move it and you're like, oh shoot, I can't. Now, it's pretty easy because keeping it straight, again, Visio has this nice snap to geometry. But if for some reason you couldn't get it on there, I'm going to show you something. When we first had the line drawn, it was like over here somewhere. Let me put it back where it was. Okay. If you just want to move this straight across, turn this line into an object by hitting Control G. Control G, I'm going to talk about Control G later. It's about grouping an item. But you're taking a line and you're making it a group, which kind of makes it an object instead of a straight line. And so a little bit more about that later. But for now, when you hit Control G, it changes it from being able to be up and down movement as a line to only being grown as a resize. But the nice thing about that is the only thing you can do with it is go straight across. So you're able to take your line straight across like this. Okay? So now we have a point that we can take our two Ethernet switches with a line, and not only can we size it, I'm going to use the keys on the keyboard. Not only can we properly align it left and right, but we can also go down and get. Now look what I'm lining up on. I'm lining up on the object, but I'm also using these blue dot or these blue square indicators to show that I'm on point with everything. Once your item is good to go, delete everything. Watch this. Just highlight stuff, delete it, or just touch it, delete it, delete it, delete it. Oops, I deleted the wrong line. Control Z. How did I know I deleted the line in the middle? I'll tell you, because when I highlighted it, first of all, it didn't highlight the whole item. But also, when I clicked it and I deleted it, it still showed the larger item. So hit Control Z, highlight the correct item, get rid of it, and now you have your two Ethernet switches connected together, and they are centered up on your diagram. Hey, I hope this was helpful. I'm going to do a lot more of Visio diagrams. Subscribe, turn on notifications so that you can get updates as I post them for follow-on tips and tricks for Visio. Been doing this a long time. I'm glad to share. Hopefully I can save you a lot of frustration and a little bit of carpal tunnel along the way. And so share this with anybody else that you think might benefit. Till next time, thank you.